Everyone, what's up? It's Tori here. I am a mom to a 2.5-year-old. His name is Gryffin. A new mom to twin girls, Isabel and Hazel. So yes, you guys, I did have my twin girls. They were born October 24th at 8:21 a.m. and 8:23 a.m. So 2 minutes apart. In this video, I'm going to be going over the birth experience that we had and how the twins were and just the whole experience, because I feel like a lot happened and things happened quickly, and yeah, there are changes that happened as well. That is what the video is about, so we'll just jump right into it. I'm gonna start from the very beginning. So like I mentioned in other videos, baby A was breached, so we had no choice but to do a C-section. So we did book our C-section, which was for October 26th, which was a Wednesday. However, based off of the last ultrasound we had, our doctor noticed that baby B was having a growth discrepancy, so meaning she wasn't growing in the womb anymore, which wasn't good for her. So my doctor wanted to get her out of the womb so that she could grow and thrive a little bit better than in the womb, just because of the growth discrepancy. When my doctor called me, she explained everything to me, and she said, hey, look, we need to push the C-section earlier instead of waiting until the 26th. So we ended up having a C-section on October 24th, which was a Monday. So I went in for my C-section at 6 a.m, got prepped and everything ready to go. The C-section started at 8 o'clock. Yeah, it was quite the experience. A C-section is just so different than from my first, which was a vag delivery. Okay, so it was a whole lot different being in the OR. It was very nerve-wracking. There was a lot of people as the girls had to go into the NICU, and we knew that before we even had the C-section. So there's a NICU team for each baby, so one for Isabel and one for Hazel, and then there was also just like the regular people that would be in there, like just doing the surgery, like my doctor and the assistants or whatever they're called, and then just like a couple more people or nurses for the babies as well. So I walked in there and there was a bunch of people, and it was super overwhelming at first, and I was scared and nervous, and Damon wasn't in there with me yet because they had to get me ready, and then once I was ready, then Damon could come in with me. But yeah, there was like a lot of people, and then getting the spinal as well was just like scary for me, just because like I don't know, it's just like getting that injected into my back, and like you have to be like a certain way so that they can do that, and it was just weird. And the OR was literally freezing. I was so cold. I had a warm blanket on me, and it was just literally still so cold. After I got the spinal and after they got me set up and getting ready to go, Damon was allowed to come into the room with me, and as soon as he sat down, they started. And as soon as they started, I literally just started crying, because it was a very weird sensation, because I mean, you don't feel pain when you have the C-section, but you feel pushing and pulling and pressure and stuff like that. So as soon as I started to feel that, I just had like this wind of emotion. So I felt a lot of just pressure and pushing and pulling, and baby A was born at 8:21, and baby A is Isabel. And she came out crying her eyes out, which was a good sign. It meant her lungs were working, right? So she was screaming when she was born. She was exactly 6 pounds. So they took her away, checked her, like the NICU checked her out and everything like that. Damon was able to go over to where they had her to go see her in the OR. And then 2 minutes later, baby B was born. Baby B is Hazel. So Hazel was born. Again, she was born screaming her lungs out. Okay, she was not happy to be born yet. I think they both wanted to just stay in my belly where it was nice and warm and comfy, so they were a little upset when they were born. And then they were born screaming again, which is a good sign. Their lungs are working, everything like that. From there, Damon again went to go see baby B, and then he came back to check in on me while they were still looking over the babies. Oh, and baby B, so Hazel, was 4 pounds and 14 ounces when she was born. I was right, 4 pounds 15 ounces when she was born. So she was just tiny. And then Damon came in and checked on me while they were finishing up closing things for me, like closing the surgery, finishing up the surgery basically. From there, I was able to see my babies and hold them. So I'll put a picture in here to show you guys. So I was finally able to hold them. And then the surgery was done, everything went well, and then we were able to actually take them to recovery with me because they were doing so well. So that's when we started breastfeeding them and everything like that. And I obviously was like numb from like here down into my whole leg, so I couldn't really like feel anything. So that's why I was into recovery. Probably in recovery for about an hour again with my babies because they were doing so well. And then they ended up taking the babies to the NICU so that they can get situated in the NICU. Again, we knew that they were going to the NICU because they were preterm. So if a baby is born before 36 weeks, they automatically just go into the NICU. So they were 35 weeks and 6 days when they were born. So they went to the NICU, Damon went with them, and I was in recovery. I had to wait to a certain point until I could actually go to like postpartum recovery. How they test this is using ice in a glove and testing to see if I can feel the coldness or not. And then I went to the postpartum recovery, so that is where I had to wait the majority of the time. I had to wait until I got to see my girls again. I think I waited for about like 4 hours before I was able to see my girls again. So again, I just had to make sure that the numbness was going down, so they just again used the ice in a glove to measure to see where I could feel it. And I think it had to be the waist down or at the knees where I could feel the coldness so that I could go safely see my girls. So once that happened, I was able to be wheeled over to the NICU to see my girls. I literally had my little catheter bag, cute, right? And then I had like this IV and I was in a wheelchair, and oh my gosh, it was probably just like a whole look. Probably not cute, but it was just a whole look. I wheeled over to the NICU, was able to see my girls, and they are just in these little incubators, keep them warm, and the nurses were just checking on their temperature, their vitals, their breathing, and their feeding and everything like that. So that was basically like the first day of when they were born, and after they were born, that's just like the full day. That was honestly like my whole experience with just like the C-section and them going into the NICU on the first day was very well. Like my whole experience, like the nurses were so amazing. Like my doctor like throughout the whole pregnancy that did the surgery as well, she was amazing and super helpful. She probably could tell I was really nervous, so she was trying to get me talking so I wouldn't be so nervous. So she was wonderful. My whole experience was good. Again, just like the surgery was a little odd to me being awake, and I was able to feel not pain, but I could feel pressure and pulling and pushing and stuff like that, which was super odd to me, and I was crying my eyes out. So the girls were in the NICU for a whole week. So we were able to take them home the week after the 24th, which was Halloween day. So October 31st, we got to take them home. So the main reason that they were in the NICU for 7 days was because of their feeding. So there was absolutely, like, everything with them was fine. They had some temperature issues going on that were quickly resolved, but it was their feeding that they needed help with. They had to have a feeding tube that they could actually get food. So because they were preemies, they had a hard time staying awake to actually do feeding, so they would fall asleep and then they'd have to use the feeding tube so that they could finish their feeding so that they would be getting enough to grow and whatnot. That's why we were in the NICU for so long. Again, the girls were like perfectly healthy the whole time. It was just their feeding where they needed a little bit of extra time in the NICU, but they were doing so well, and all the nurses and staff in the NICU were amazing. They helped so much with just like the whole like breastfeeding journey and getting that situated, and all the feeding, and just support for just like Damon and I as well, just having someone there helping us and answering questions for us. It was a great experience, honestly. Yeah, that's like the whole birthing experience. As for me and my recovery, so again, I had a C-section, and my recovery so far has been amazing. The first couple days were hard. I was in a wheelchair the first day, and then I ended up walking the next day, which was great. I know I got lots of tips saying like walk as soon as you can, get your body moving. So that's what I did. I had very swollen feet, so it kind of like hurt to walk just because of that. But literally my leg or my ankles were like, I had kinkles basically, you guys. Like my ankles were so, I guess, inflamed or swollen. I had, you know, obviously pain with my incision and cramping and the bleeding and stuff like that, but it didn't last long, and now I just have the odd pain with my incision, and I just take my meds that they gave me, and then everything just gets situated and sorted out. That is my birth story. Nothing too interesting happened, and like the girls were born very healthy, which we are so grateful for and happy about, and they're still thriving here at home, which is great. So yeah, and then my recovery has been great. Support is amazing, and yeah, that is all I have for today's video. I hope you guys enjoyed it and enjoyed hearing me talk about my experience with the C-section and with the twins and everything like that. And I will see you guys in my next video. Okay, bye.